So an expensive sentence is not the beginning of the problem, and it's not really the end of the problem, but it's this indicator in the middle that it's going to cost us a lot of money. And once we had an idea and our team started using this term and talking about this, it became very useful. In fact, it became a little bit too useful because it seems like every project we'd work on had a number of expensive sentences. And I'm going to mention a few, and you've heard some of these. So we go in and talk to the functional owner about a large area of spend, and they'd say, hey, we already know what vendor we're going to use, so we don't need to go out to the field, right? Or they'd say, well, the price is already under budget, so why do we need to negotiate? Okay. They'd say, hey, let's hurry up and pick our solution. No matter what it is, we've got to implement next month, okay? Or, oh, you know what? I already talked to the sales guy. He'd say he'd give us a really good break as long as we sign next week. So we'd hear all these things. Ken's laughing there. I think he's used that tactic before. That's my hunch. No, but basically every project we took, it was like a rash all over the company. All these expensive sentences we started hearing. And I don't want to pick on the big companies too much, okay, or my old employer. I know Sylvia's been in some big companies and probably heard those there as well. But I'll tell a story a couple years ago of a much different environment. And this was a job, I was working for an internet retailer, a small niche retailer, just a few million in sales. His largest line item of expense, and this is bigger than payroll for him, was advertising. And he was getting all of his customers through two specific websites that kind of catered to his niche. So I saw this, we were looking at his books, and I said, well what can we do? You know, is this good pricing? Have you really tested it? And his reaction was, hey, I don't have any other choice of where to get my customers. So there's nothing I can do. I don't want to tick these guys off. Now, I pressed him a little bit on this, and finally I got him to agree, well, maybe we can do something here. Maybe he was spending about 40% on one and 60% on the other. You know, maybe we can shift it a little bit. Maybe we can get a longer-term agreement and do something to get some better pricing. And so he agreed, okay, let's do a simple sourcing process. We're going to put these two suppliers through a little bit of a negotiation exercise. Now, right after we'd started that, something happened. One site bought the other site. So instead of buying from, in theory, a duopoly with little competition, we were buying from one source, the sole source, right? The only place to go. Or at least that's what my friend, the CEO, said. And so Tom said, yeah, let's just leave this behind now. We don't want to tick these guys off. They're the only choice that I have to find my customers. And I said, is that really true? You know, are they the only choice that you have? Let's say these guys didn't exist. Would you just be out of business? And he said, well, I guess not. And I said, well, let's take this a little further. So consider that we've got a factory, and actually drew a factory on the whiteboard. And let's think about inputs and outputs. So what's going into this factory that's represented by these websites? And he said, well, I send him ad copy, and I give him money. Okay, and what's coming out of the factory? Coming out of the factory is qualified leads that he then turns into customers. So is there any other factory like that where we can send in money and ad copy and get out qualified leads? Is there any other way to do that? And we started pushing it, right? Because he felt like he had no options. And I knew that was an expensive place to be. And he was thinking, well, gosh, I guess we could go to print. There's some print magazines that really cater to my niche, and I haven't really tried that. It seems inefficient, but we could try that. He said, well, I could go to other websites. I mean, they're broader, but maybe the prices would be lower. Maybe we could get, you know, a lower percentage, but get the same level of customers that way. And so we built a case. We realized that there were more options. And we got to the point where Tom, the CEO, was comfortable calling his vendor and basically making this pitch, saying, look, yes, we're buying a lot from you, and I understand that A bought B and there's just you now. But these economics aren't working for us. And so we've got to do something. We're thinking about some other paths, and what can you do? We went from him saying, hey, we have no options, no other suppliers, to saying, we're going to go down some path and make some change. So the net result of that was a 19% reduction from the same vendor for the same product. And again, that was his largest line item of expense. So that's a lot of money he was saving. So we've talked through a couple of these expensive sentences, right? These beliefs, these ideas that sort of held back the buyer from taking action and making better decisions.